Bhagavad Acharya Shankara was not only a great thinker and noblest of Advaitic philosophers, but he was essentially an inspired champion of Hinduism and one of the most vigorous missionaries in our country. Such a powerful leader was needed at the time when Hinduism had been almost smothered within the enticing entanglement of the Buddhistic philosophy, and consequently the ardent Hindu society had come to be broken up and disunited into sects and denominations, each championing a different viewpoint and mutually quarreling in endless argumentations. Each Pandit at it where has his own followers, his own philosophy, his own interpretations. Each one was a vehement and powerful opponent of all other views. The intellectual disintegration, especially in the spiritual field, was never before so serious and so dangerously calamitous as in the time of Sri Shankara. It was at such a time when our society was fertile for an ideal thought of or practical philosophy to thrive, that the beautiful values of non-injury, self-control, love and affection of Buddha came to the enchant alike the kings and their subjects of this country. But the general decadence of the age did not spare Buddhists also. They among themselves precipitated different viewpoints, and by the time Shankar appeared on the horizons of Hindu history, the atheistic school of Buddhists has enticed almost large sections of the Hindu folk. It was into such a chaotic intellectual atmosphere that Shankara brought his life-giving philosophy of non-dual Brahman of Upanishads. It can be very well understood what a colossal work it must have been for a single man to undertake in those days. That is in the 7th centuries of AD, when modern conventions of mechanical transport and instruments of propaganda were unknown. The genius of Shankar did solve the problem, and by the time he has placed at the rest his mortal coil, he had whipped the false Buddhistic ideology beyond the source of our country, and has reintegrated the philosophical thoughts in the then Aryabharta. After centuries of wandering, no doubt richer by her various experiences, but tired and fatigued, Bharata came back to her own native thoughts. In his missionary work of propagating the great philosophical truths of the Upanishads and rediscovering through them the true cultural basis of a nation, Acharya Shankara had a variety of efficient weapons in his resourceful armory. He had indeed preeminently the fittest genius who alone could have undertaken this self-appointed task as to sole guardian angel of the Rishi culture. An exquisite thinker, a brilliant intellect, a personality scintillating with the vision of truth, a heart throbbing with industrious faith and ardent desire to serve the nation, sweetly emotional and relentlessly logical. In Shankara, the Upanishads discovered the fittest spiritual general. It was indeed a vast program that Shankar has to accomplish within span of only about 20 effective years. For the age of 32, he had finished his work and had folded up his manifestations among the mortal of the world. So Shankar had only 20 years, because by the age of, he started his propaganda by the age of 12 and died at the age of 32. He has brought into work his literary dexterity both in prose and poetry, and at his hands, under the heat of his fervent ideals, the great Sanskrit literature became almost plastic. He could mold it in any shape and into any form. From vigorous prose, heavily laden with irresistible arguments, to flowing rivulets of lilting tuneful songs of love and beauty, there is no technique in language that Sankara did not take up. And whatever form he took up, he proved himself to be a master in it. From masculine prose to soft feminine songs, from marching militant verses to dancing songful words, be he in the halls of Upanishads commentaries, or in the temple of Brahma Sutra expositions, or in the amphitheater of his Bhagavad Gita discourses, and in the open flowery fields of devotional songs, he was a pen that danced itself in the rhythms of his heart and in the swift of his thoughts. Pen alone would not have owned the work of our country. He showed himself to be a great organizer, a far-sighted diplomat, a courageous hero, and a tireless servant of the country. Selfless and unassumingly, this mighty angel strode up down the length and breadth of this country, serving his motherland and teaching his countrymen to live up to the dignity and glory of Bharata. Such a vast program can neither be accomplished by an individual nor sustained and kept up without institutions of great discipline and perfect organization, establishing mosques, opening up temples, organizing halls of education, and even establishing certain ecclesiastical legislations. The mighty master left nothing undone in maintaining what he achieved. He established 4 mosques in the Puri, the Shankaracharya Mutt on one end, and the other end he has established in Kanchi Kamakoti, and on the far Himalayas he established one, that is he has established 4 mutts: the Kanchi Kamakoti Mutt, the Puri Mutt, and the Singeri Mutt. Bhaja Govindam is one of the seemingly smaller but in fact extremely important works of Adi Shankara. Here the fundamentals of Vedanta taught in simple musical verses, so that even from early childhood the children of rishis can grow up amid the melody of Advaita.